Hey guys, Central Cop 321 here. Sorry it's been so long since I made some videos. I know I told you guys in the past that I was going to start creating content a little bit more often, but some issues came up. I didn't get any reviews or any views period on my last video. It was a little disappointing. Broke my spirit a little bit, and it also kind of unmotivated me a little bit. But other things happened too. I got into discussing things a little bit further with my wife about the moving process. I'm sure some of you aren't aware of my current situation. I'm renting a room from a buddy's dad here in Florida currently, while my family is still up in Ohio. My wife still has a full-time job up there, and at the moment we can't afford to move the whole family down here and lose that income. She makes a significant amount, and it kind of keeps us afloat while we're dealing with the whole process here. And on top of that, we dealt with some family issues. My grandmother passed away. And then my stepdaughter, who I don't normally call her my stepdaughter because to me she's my daughter. Her dad passed away while she was visiting, and we had to take an impromptu trip down there. She normally would go down there for the summer, and he passed away, and unfortunately we had to go down there and help her deal with things on that front. So I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of things. So tonight's video is a little somber. It's not as upbeat, if you will, as I would like to have a video be, but these are things that everybody goes through in their lives. Their everyday challenges, and I want you guys to realize that cops deal with these challenges just like you do. So as a YouTuber, I'm not really, I'm still starting out, and I've not got many videos, but I've got enough on there that I feel like it's time to make things real with you guys. I've got a couple of things I want to share with you. One is a particular taste in sodas. Cops have favorites too. Mine, not many people know about. The ones that do know about it, a lot of them know it's got a very unique taste. I got really excited the other day when I found a location down here in Florida that actually carries this particular soda. You can only get this soda in certain areas. The name of it's Moxie. It was originally created in Maine, and you can't get that very many places. So I found some bottles over at the Cracker Barrel. They sell them for $1.49. If you ever want to try it, go grab yourself a bottle. I think most Cracker Barrels are carrying it. Don't quote me on that because I'm not sure, but if anyone works for Cracker Barrel in their headquarters or whatever and they know the specifics on it, feel free to comment and let everybody know. Other than that, like I said, we were dealing with a death, my grandmother, who had passed away. We had a little bit more notice with her. I went back up to Ohio because she was in Ohio, and was able to spend some quality time with my family, and I also got to spend some time and pretty much say my goodbyes to my grandmother before she passed away. And then me and my family, we attended her funeral before I had to come back to Florida. It was tough. My grandmother and I, we were close. I didn't see her as often as I should have, but when I did see her, I would have so much happiness and just flood my heart. So someone like that I wasn't able to see very often, even though we were in the same state, losing her was very, very tough. Losing anyone in your life, whether it be an expected death, sort of, or an unexpected death, it's tough. But when my daughter's dad passed away, that was probably the toughest. Mainly because I saw my daughter's heart break. It didn't just break, but I mean it was completely shattered. Her life turned upside down. One day she's there, she's got her dad, she's having so much fun, she's spending the summer with him, and the next day he's not only just gone, but she's never going to speak to him again. So my wife and I, we were scrambling while we were down there to try and find videos of him talking, voicemails, Snapchats, of him talking to her. And fortunately, he had enough videos on his own cell phone, very, very recent videos on his cell phone. And he also, his phone, my daughter's able to keep. So she's got these videos that she can hear his voice, she can hear him laughing, she can see the good times that they had just before he passed away. So it's going to be a real tough road for her, my family. We are realizing that my job offer and how quickly everything started rolling for my job down here, how it kept us unprepared, if you will. We weren't expecting me to get even a job offer until around this time this year, when we started back in October of last year. But I had that job offer back in December, and I started in January. So it's been a tough road. It's been very tough for me and my family, seeing as I've been away for 7 months now, going on 8, and I've only seen my family a few times. But we're moving through it. We've got a plan. Me and my wife, like I said, we spoke tonight about how we plan to move forward. One of the big challenges in the moving process was selling our house. Well, in order to sell a house or even move, you got to get packed. I left before we got anything packed. I tried to come back and get some things packed, and unfortunately we had that situation that brought us out of state, and we had to take that impromptu trip, so I didn't get anything done there. So all this time my wife's been trying to get the house packed up by herself. She's got 2 kids to deal with. So we're trying to get that done so we can rent the house, and our plan is to hopefully by summer of next year, and that's a long time because that's about a year from now. So it's going to be another year that I'm not going to be with my family full time. But we're going to try and make things a little easier and take some trips here and there. And I suggested to my wife tonight maybe doing Christmas down here in Florida, which we're going to have a bunch of them, but doing Christmas down here and flying them down, and we go to Disney or whatever, and just spend some time quality time down here to make things a little bit easier. I know I went backtracked and everything, but like I said, I've got a lot to talk about. I might even make 2 videos out of this, especially seeing as the time's already just quickly amounting. So bear with me in this. I think it's going to be a 2-part video, just to keep things a little bit easier. So my wife has been amazing. She is truly my rock. Without her, I truly wouldn't be able to do this. Not in the sense that a married person should. My significant other is extremely, extremely solid as a foundation to me. Not too many families go through the situation that we're going through, so it's very unique. So if you have a similar situation that you may be going through, even if you're not in law enforcement, feel free to reach out to me, and maybe we can correspond or whatever you like. Share our ordeals, in private, of course, unless you give me permission to talk about them over this. But any feedback you guys have, any advice you guys have, I'm more than welcome to sit here and listen to it. Financially, we are kind of stuck. We are really short on funds. So we know the struggles that low-income house has. Yeah, people think all the time that cops are, they make enough money to make a good living. They never show that they're struggling financially. But a lot of cops do. A lot of police officers, they struggle paycheck to paycheck. Our department, back in, I want to say, February timeframe, we lost our overtime details. If you're unfamiliar with what an overtime detail is considered, it's all these extra duties that you see police officers doing, like the town fair or a bingo night when you see a police officer that is there for the whole time, or you just generally see a police officer doing things that you don't normally see them doing, but you assume it's part of their normal duties. If you look up the duties of a police officer, you're not going to find these things in it. And that's what I'm talking about by overtime details. These different venues who want to have a law enforcement presence, they will contact the police department or the jurisdiction that is covering them. And they'll reach out to them, and they will try and set up some kind of a detail that pays an officer to be there outside of their normal working hours. Now, a lot of police officers, they will take as many as they possibly can, sacrificing their home life in the process in order to provide for their family. Our department had lost them for a while. The sheriff's office, they stepped in and took over, and they were very, very good in stating, and so far they've kept their word, that they would back off when our department was ready to take over those responsibilities again. But some of these officers were making, $5,000 extra a year, and you don't think $5,000 for the year is all that much until these officers lose it, and they have to they struggle to find the funds from elsewhere. So I'm kind of excited for our department to get these back, so I can start trying to go to these off-duty details, so I can make a little bit of extra money to help ease the burden of our financial difficulties. My wife has also suggested that in the meantime, I try and look at departments back in Ohio. See if we can find a department who's looking for a full-time police officer who's willing to accept that I haven't had a full year down here, or if they can wait to fully hire me until I get that full year. A lot of police departments for a lateral transfer require you to have a full year, at least on the department you're currently working for, to show that you are able to perform and pass, obviously, FTO, the field training program. That way, they get a grasp of how you work, so they can talk to that department and be like, hey, how is this person as a police officer? Unfortunately, my job up in Ohio, I wasn't working for a civilian police department. I was working for the Department of Defense. So back in Ohio, they don't consider that to be as a good law enforcement background. They consider it law enforcement, but they don't consider it a public law enforcement background. And what I mean by that is, I believe, as I've spoken to some of these departments, they're talking about working under the state and only their powers. Because as a federal police officer, which I would be as a Department of Defense police officer, you are confined by some restrictions, and as a Department of Defense police officer, I had the powers of apprehension versus the powers of arrest. They're different. Maybe we can discuss these in a different video or something, but also Department of Defense, they will they fall under different guidelines. You fall under Posse Comitatus in the Assimilated Crimes Act. Both of those are very specific, dealing with the state side. The Assimilated Crimes Act allows the federal agency, the DoD Police Department, to charge and cite under the state laws in which they are currently in. The Posse Comitatus is protecting citizens of the United States from being unlawfully detained and charged by the military. The only time that can truly happen, other than Posse Comitatus, is, and that's more referring to say, as a Department of Defense police officer, I'm outside my jurisdictional boundaries. I can't just go and arrest somebody, even though I'm part of the federal government. It's a protection. So I would be violating that person's rights by arresting them when I don't have the arrest power. When I'm outside of that jurisdiction, I would be considered a citizen, a private citizen, and the only thing you can do under that is a citizen's arrest, which has to be a violent felony in progress, for the most part. Don't quote me on that. I've been out of the game for just, a little less than a year, and I haven't been dealing with that. Yes, I dealt with it for a number of years beforehand, but going back to the other side of the house of the jurisdiction that I'd be falling under for the Department of Defense, it's the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. That's what the primary role would be falling under for jurisdiction. And under that, you apprehend, you don't arrest. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Like I said, it's most likely going to be a two-part video, this being part one, obviously. So if you like the video, hit like. If you don't, hit the dislike button. But give me feedback regardless, because as I'm still new, I'm trying to figure things out. I'm trying to get better. So the more feedback I get, the more I can grow. Alright guys, Central Cop 321. I'll talk to you guys in a minute, or later, whenever you watch the second video. Bye.